The next few days, I rested and healed. I hardly got out of bed. I hadn't truly realized how badly I was hurt until I was able to rest. Every bone and muscle in my body ached in some way. The older black woman came by every night and gave me some herbal tea. I felt strange, diary. Was this freedom? I was so used to getting up at the crack of dawn to serve the massa in the big house or to head to the fields. I had never truly rested before. Now that I had the chance, I felt restless. I didn't know what to do with myself. Every time I tried to get up and help with the chores, I was rushed back to my shack and told to rest. I hadn't realized how much I needed it, not just for my battered body, but for my soul. After nearly a week, I was finally allowed to join the others. I knew how to cook and clean the kitchen, so I volunteered there. I had spent most of my life in the big house kitchen. Doing this was like breathing for me. Even though I wasn't required to work, I felt like I had to. I wondered if that part of slavery would ever leave me. But I knew I wouldn't stay here long. I had to see the North for myself. If I could live like this, in a place where slavery was illegal, I would find a way to make it there. That night, the freed people gathered around a bonfire, telling stories. Some talked about Africa. The elders of their plantations had tried to keep the stories of where they came from alive. That was a struggle in itself, given how hard they had crammed Christianity down our throats. I thought about men like Samuel, enslaved men who found power and station among the whites by pushing their propaganda onto the rest of us. It was refreshing to hear tales of the land my mother's people came from. I sat by the fire and listened. They sang songs and spoke of their escapes. "I've been curious about you," a man's voice said. The fire crackled. The air felt heavier. All was quiet. I wasn't sure who he was talking to. "Are you white or black?" the man asked. They all stared at me. I sighed. Over the years, I had started to hate myself. I wished my skin were as dark and beautiful as my mother's had been. I wished my hair were as thick and curly as theirs. I hated my father's white blood that coursed through my veins. I hated his features that were stuck on my face. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was an abomination, cursed by their white god to never fit in anywhere. "I am, or was, a slave," I replied. That seemed to be enough for most of them, but not the man. "But are you black?" he asked again. I stared into the fire. Everyone waited for me to answer. I didn't understand why this meant so much to them. I didn't know why I couldn't answer that question. "My mother was black," I finally said. "She was just a girl when the massa pulled her into the woods and raped her. After she gave birth to me, she was hung from a tree." Many of the freed people sighed and nodded. I may not have looked like them, but I was connected to them. I had come from the same pain and struggle they had. "So, you're a white nigger," the man said. Some of the freed people murmured in disgust. "Her mother was black. She was a slave. She is black. Leave her be," a woman said. Many of them agreed with her. "If she is the daughter of a massa, she was not a slave like us," the man accused. "She lived in the big house. She is one of them." I sighed. It always came to this with them. "I was raised in the big house," I began. "See, she is not one of us. Why is she even here?" the man said. I was tired of this foolishness. A slave was a slave. What made theirs suffer and worse than mine? Their skin tone? I stood and faced him. His brown face looked almost sinister in the firelight. his eyes filled with hate. Did he see a white woman when he looked at me? "You think the big house was some kind of vacation? Some summer home?" I asked. I didn't realize I was shouting. Every single night, I fell asleep to the sound of a slave girl being raped just beyond the door of our quarters that were worse than the field shacks, I said. I looked around at the dark faces watching me, listening to every word that left my lips. I never knew when my night would come, but when it did, my white father pulled me into the hallway and raped me. Some of the freed women shook their heads in sorrow and disgust. The mistress of the house blamed me for her husband raping me. I swallowed hard. This was difficult to talk about. I reached for the thick scarf around my neck and pulled it away, stepping closer to the firelight so they could see the ugly scar. "She hung me from a tree," I shouted. Tears streamed down my face. I lifted my shirt so they could see the lash marks from the whip, the scars and bruises from more broken ribs than I could remember. I heard gasps of horror as they took in the damage written across my body. "Because my father wouldn't let his jealous mistress kill me, she made me sip poisoned lemonade every morning to make sure I could never bear his children." I was sobbing now. I did not ask to be born with white blood in my veins. I was just as much a slave, just as much at the mercy of the massa as any of you. The man stared at me. He had no words. I doubted he had ever endured anything close to what I had. I doubted any of them had. Slavery was hell for all of us, but for those of us in the house, it was a special kind of hell. "I am not a white nigger," I said. "I am just as much a slave in this world as you are." I took a deep breath. I was angry. I hated being doubted simply because my skin was lighter and my hair was looser. I turned to leave, but felt a hand on my shoulder. I spun quickly, reaching for the pistol that was no longer in my belt. "It's okay, sweet thing," the older black woman said. I sighed, relieved to see her. "You are one of us. Anyone who doubts that is a fool," she said. The other freed men and women nodded. "Sit a while, dear," another woman said. I nodded and sat back down. Someone started singing an old song from Africa, but I didn't hear it. I just stared into the fire. I would leave this refuge, this place of peace. I only hoped the people in the North were more like the black woman who had cared for me, black men and women who had never been slaves, who had never felt the sting of the massa's whip and looked up to see a white nigger sitting on the porch in the shade, drinking lemonade. Of course, they didn't know the nightmares we faced under the massa's roof. But I could see why they hated me.